So let me turn on record. I'll call the meeting to order, 7:01. You should be able to see the agenda right now, right?
Yep.
Yes,
All right, let me bring up the minutes of the last meeting. Okay, you can see the minutes?
yes.
All right. Any comments on the minutes? I have one. The second sub-bullet, the
Mhm.
task force voted. I think that should be 7-0 to 1.
Okay.
It's one of, well, it was one abstention, and we had 8
Oh, okay. I didn't get the
people on the meeting,
abstention.
so. And the only other comment I have is this, where it says comments from the public.
Yeah.
You might want to say that the comments were from the Zoom chat, just so they know where they came from. And that's all I had.
Okay.
Have a motion to accept?
I move we accept the minutes as amended.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. All right. And the big reason why we came together. There weren't a lot of changes to this, to the letter or the document. We can go through it first, and then we can comment as we go through. I did update the charts where new data was available. I think maybe the first one had another month of data. And that was the only one. And I did add in the dates of when they were. I added this section in red, information from Chris Gazerick from the Seaport, plus that article that I sent you after I sent out the agenda from that trade publication, which I believe used a lot of Chris's data. But it was just to get in another local aspect of impact of sea level rise and flooding events.
Do you think, Rick, if you should, that if you're gonna put it as an example, should it be bulleted like the others?
Well, I didn't do it bulleted because the up above it says the 5 major
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I see on the first page.
major climate indicators.
Yeah, yeah. I see what you're saying. Okay, I'm okay.
This is just an adder for local flavor. And I did it this way instead of trying to use the tide data, because we discussed last meeting. There are people in town that dispute the New London tide data. And so this is something that the Seaport is using in their presentations and in their write-ups. So it's fairly significant to go from 1 to 2 events to 60 events a year. Next, 17% of their days that they're open. So if anybody has any objections, we can talk about it. Otherwise, we'll move on.
For me.
And that was the only, those were the only changes to the forwarding letter.
So can I stop us there?
If you want to talk about the forwarding letter,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. This is, I had a couple of really minor, like grammar, punctuation things, nothing substantive at all. It's a great letter. But I personally could not read the figures presented. They were too small for my eyes, and I had to blow up the page. Maybe when they're printed out, they'll be okay. But the first figure in particular, the right-hand portion of the graph, which shoots into infinity straight up, it's really hard to see that. So I spent a lot of time reformatting this thing so that the figures were a lot bigger. It makes the introductory letter longer, but I don't know about the rest of you, but I absolutely couldn't read it.
Yeah, I mean, you can make these graphics bigger, but
Yeah.
it just expands the letter to be, like 8 pages instead of.
Well, it looks tidy, I agree, but I just don't
mean,
see
you
any
can
point in putting in data
do
unless
this,
you
but
can read
then
it.
it plays with the formatting of the letter.
Yeah, I can send you what I've got. Again, it's great data, Rick. I mean, you put in the right stuff. It's just hard to see.
How do I get my computer screen to show everybody? Because I can only see Susan and Mary Ellen and a couple of you. I'm clicking on the box with 9 squares, but that doesn't seem to do it. Is there something else I could do?
Julia, if you go around the edge of the box, does it turn into a little expander so you can drag the window?
Yeah, you can make that window bigger.
Try it. Sure. How's that? Oh, there you go. Hi. Thanks. That did it. I knew it was Sharon speaking.
So, do you want me to make the boxes bigger? I mean,
Am I the only one who can't read them?
I'm
Oh,
having-
I have it printed out, and if they were probably just a few
Excels?
centimeters bigger, they would be more visible. Although I have to admit, when I print out from my iPad, it seems to make everything smaller and does all sorts of weird things with it. But it's pretty close to being readable. I wouldn't make them full page or anything like that.
Oh.
Just to squeeze it up a little bit.
well,
In
yeah, but
fact,
like what happens, like on this first one, if you make it even a tiny bit bigger, it goes to the next page.
next page,
Right.
yeah.
So then you have this big gap here.
Right, that's what I spent a half an hour playing around with reformatting it. I can send it to you if you want. And I also had a big arrow on the far right-hand side, because it's really hard to see that straight up line is not the right edge of the figure and actually data.
Right.
I mean, I can send it to you, Rick. Again, I promised the committee that nothing's changed except size.
And size matters in this case, that's for sure.
Yes, it does. Glad you said it.
I like the in-text, the in-text figures and so on. I think that makes a lot of sense, and it makes it very readable.
So what's the rest of you? Do you want them things bigger?
This
Or,
is Susan, I'm neutral. I feel I can read them, but I can appreciate that a lot of people can't. I'm neutral. And if the letter gets longer, I'm not concerned about that.
I mean, it's going to be sent electronically. So, I mean, you can always zoom in, and make things, you can always play with your
I know that. I have that technology skill. I know I could make it bigger. I just couldn't read it easily. And I
okay.
think the data are important.
Is there a way on this first one to expand it horizontally and not vertically?
You can, it distorts it, but
But it's still that far
Yeah,
bright
yeah.
line that shoots straight upward. I mean, if I don't think this is worth a big discussion. You can either see it or my eyes are crummy. That's
Well, here's a thought. Switch the top graph, the bullet from the top graph of the next page to the bottom of the first page. And that way it's a different scale. It's easier to read.
I've got it reformatted. I could send it to Rick. Again, nothing substantive has changed.
Okay?
Well, I mean, we want to try and approve this tonight, so that would require that we have yet another meeting when the draft comes in.
I vote for that.
I don't
Sharon,
think
could
that that's
you-
necessary.
Sharon, can you update it into the chat box?
No, because
You
it's a
can't
figure. It's a
Um,
size thing.
I think we can approve it regardless of size.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right,
Make any changes you want to the size. I fully approve.
Perfect.
anything else in the letter, in the forwarding letter?
Well, I get back to my original horse here, and this is my only dog in this fight. Why do we have to call this an climate emergency declaration?
I believe the feeling is that because all the other towns are calling it the emergency declaration, and we want to try and all do the same, present the same front. If we don't call it an emergency declaration, well, then, it loses some of the weight of what we're trying to do.
Well, I know-
And my own feeling is that it is an emergency. I mean, if you read the news just yesterday, New Zealand, the whole country declared a climate emergency declaration, and they're going to be fossil free by 2025.
Yes.
Dennis, we lost 10 inches of shorefront in this last storm this last week. And to me, that constitutes an emergency. This was over by Allen Sally. And this is by measurement. And I think people are realizing it's a true emergency. And I think particularly since we demonstrated a climate emergency as far back as 2017, that now there's no harm in saying, yes, in fact, this is an emergency. Please pay attention publicly.
I continue to feel that, I mean, An Inconvenient Truth came out in 2007. Continues to move along there it doesn't continue to move along. And I just think that, the term emergency politicizes it. I've said this before, I'll leave it. You could call it Fred, you could call it Bob, you could call it what you want, but I think it politicizes it a bit too much. And
Point
if you
noted.
look at that Bend, document, I don't believe they called it a climate emergency. They called it a climate action.
Well, that's a different document. That document had a different purpose. What we're asking for a climate action plan to be created by the town in this document, and that would be similar to what the Bend document was.
Oh, I've had my say. Everybody knows my feelings on it.
Okay. Now for the actual declaration. None of this has changed. There were some small changes in this one paragraph just because it didn't read right. And I updated the solar count because I found some more solar rooftops. And then the major change that we're having trouble with. Oh, I put in bi-monthly here because that's when we meet. This language was what we were struggling with last time. The first part is basically from the wording that Helen and I think Jason gave us, and then from the original declaration that was presented. And then I tried to add in a little bit to give some kind of format to get so that when you typically go, you're going to go out and ask all the departments for input. Unless you ask them for some kind of structure, you're going to get like 20 or 30 different things in, and most of the data won't be very usable. So maybe this, when you ask for a itemized list by year, it might be closer to being something that can be useful. I picked 6 months because I figured this will probably get approved if they approve it. Maybe the January meeting. I'm not sure whether they'll take it up next week because they have a meeting, and they typically don't meet the week of Christmas. So it would be probably the January meeting. And that would give 6 months from January would be the end of the budget cycle. So that the budget would be put to bed, and then when the things come back in, I picked 4 months because that seemed like a reasonable. If you get some type of reasonable inputs, it should be fairly easy to put in to put together at least a rough emergency plan, and then that would bring it to the end of the year, which would be for the next budget cycle for 2022. So the timing works out, I think, pretty well with those dates in there. Anybody else have any comments?
I like the structure because I think it, by putting it into categories like that, it causes them to think really carefully about what they are saying and what they think they can do when. I think that's a good addition.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I have something in the chat where it says these plans are due back. I think it's the second sentence in the red.
Yep. This.
Right, yeah, these plans will be completed and submitted.
What'd you say?
It's in the chat.
I can't see the chat.
Okay.
What I'm sharing.
It says instead of these plans will be due back, it says these plans will be completed and submitted to the Board of Selectmen. A little more toothy.
Anything else?
Well, I have a comment not on this particular paragraph, but in one of the bullets up above this red section. I don't know if you want to handle it. Go to this first, stop the first bullet with the little circle, develop mitigation. Shouldn't that be adaptation initiatives?
Yes. Yes, it should.
And
So you want and deleted?
No. Develop mitigation and adaptation initiatives, not adaption. Is adaption a word?
Adapt.
I don't know. I just TA. That's all.
And in the bullet right below that, there's a typo. It's substantive.
Right. You have an extra A there, that last A.
The second bullet, the second little hollow bullet.
Yeah. First line.
How do you spell it? Is that right? No, it's not a
No,
word.
Substantive.
Substantive.
TI. That TI comes out.
Substantive.
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 There's an extra IA.
Any more comments? None?
I think it looks good.
Does.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve to send this to the first selectman?
So move.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? All right, so I'll finalize this tomorrow. Print a copy out, sign it, and email it off to the Board of Selectmen, and copies to Jeff Callahan and the Superintendent of Schools. I'll put all you people on copy. And then, after that, you can share it with people if you want. It would probably help to get, short emails sent to the Board of Selectmen for if people want to support it. And, if they get, a number of emails in from residents or other groups that you volunteer with or whatever, it might make a difference.
Rick, I've never done this before. Do you want quantity?
Well, quantity, I don't think will hurt. I mean, we don't need to overwhelm them, I don't think, but a number of people have already sent in, just be based on the knowledge that we're working on this, have sent in comments. So, it probably should be more than just the task force people. If we can get, other people that aren't on the task force to show that there is community support for such a declaration.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. I was just curious forgive me if I'm asking a question that you all have an understanding of. Do you know what the next steps are? So I know it gets sent to the selectmen. Is there going to be a public hearing? Does it go to a town vote? Do we know that yet or not?
I don't believe it needs to go to a town vote. I believe the selectmen can sign this on their own. And there's always public comment at the start of a Board of Selectmen meeting. So anybody can speak at any meeting on any topic that they want to. I'll try and find out from Danielle, what meeting she's going to possibly discuss this at. I would plan on, being there. She did want, she and I might have a separate conversation before this goes to the other two selectmen for public comment, just to know where we're coming from and why we think it's necessary. But I think once she gets the cover letter, it explains a lot of why we feel it's necessary. But I don't believe they have to take it to a town meeting. Actually, if they refuse to sign it, there's always the possibility in the town charter for the 20 residents to call a public meeting. It only takes 20 people to call a town meeting in the town of Stonington. And then they have a certain timetable that they have to react to things. We cross that bridge when we get to it, but right now, I believe they can just sign this if they want to have it invoked.
Is it true that they can modify it however much they want before they?
Yep. I mean, it's their resolution, their declaration. We're just providing a suggested document. They can change this however they feel like it.
That's a great question, Dana. So we might consider, if we're going to write letters or share with friends and encourage people to write letters, to support the document as is, as opposed, right? Something of that nature.
Yeah. I mean, that's hopefully they don't change it a lot. I mean, hopefully they'll sign it, but you never know. June's not here tonight, so we don't. I think June is probably in favor of it, but I'm not positive. And I believe Danielle might be. So,
Rick, when you talk to Danielle, maybe you can say that this document had the support of the entire task force. You know, just to emphasize that.
yeah, well, she looks for our minutes, so she'll know that it was unanimous vote. So,
Okay.
any other things on that? Bring back up the agenda.
You know, I'm sorry to hammer on this, but would it be good, like, if every one of us got 5 people to send in a letter? Can you give us a little more direction about letters of support?
You know, I think you just need to do what you think is right. I mean, you're a resident of the town, and you know, if you get 5 people, if you can get 10 people, that's fine. I mean, personally, for me, I'm going to send it to the Avalonia Stonington Town Committee and see if they'll support sending things in. I figure maybe half of them will and half of them won't. So if you're a member of the garden club or know somebody in the garden club, they're fairly influential in town. If you belong to other organizations, other nonprofits that deal with the environment, and I might even send it to people like that we've been dealing with for the Southeastern Connecticut water quality thing. People from the Nature Conservancy. It all depends on who you want to try and get to do it, and who you think will, take a active role in sending a couple line email.
That's really helpful. Thank you, Rick.
All right. The next item, Danielle sent me an email about this. Sustainable CT. They have a funding mechanism where if the town raises so much money for a project, then Connecticut, a Sustainable CT puts up a matching contribution. They just completed one at the, if you're aware, an Eagle Scout put in more community gardens next to the town hall, and built them and put them in. And they met the goal on that, but the town had to throw in some extra money in order to meet the goal to get the match. She asked me if we had any ideas, and one problem I have with crowdfunding things for that the town should be really putting in the budget to do, and the issue with this crowdfunding is you've got to get at least 20 people, and it's got to be a project that people really want to contribute to. Other towns have done like a tree planting they, plant 50, 100 trees around town. Essex raised funds for electrical vehicle charging station. But when I responded to Danielle initially, I said, well, you might want to continue to work with nonprofits to do this, because they have a donor base that people might be willing to give to a project where a lot of the taxpayers don't want to do, they feel they pay enough in taxes already. Avalonia currently is involved in one in North Stonington to raise funds for to finalize a closing on property by the end of the year. So, I told her that Avalonia in Stonington really couldn't do that right now because we have one going on in North Stonington. But if you come up with any ideas, you can send them to Danielle. If you find something and you can look on the Sustainable CT website to see what other projects other towns are doing. And there's a bunch of closed projects. So there's a large variety of things they could do. But I didn't come up with anything that we could promote right away. So.
How many levels does Sustainable Connecticut have? In other words, we're bronze. Is there a gold and a silver and something else too?
I think there's only 2. And then, these projects do have to go along with their criteria, and those are going to change in January. So there are some new ones in there that they added a whole section on homelessness. And I did suggest to Danielle, maybe she wanted to, contact the Pawcatuck Neighborhood Center and do something on the homelessness one. But I believe that the ceiling on any of these crowdfunding is $25,000. So, that's the one that they did for the garden had to raise around 5,000, and they town had to throw in like 1,200 to complete it. So the next 2 items, there's a new satellite up in space that measures sea level rise down to the 1-inch level, and that satellite will go for 5 years, and then they have another one waiting in the wings to go up to replace that. So there'll be a 10-year measurement of sea level rise, and I believe it circles the globe every 10 days. So there'll be a lot of data for them to look at for sea level rise. And then the next item was just from Rhode Island. They're having trouble with saltwater intrusion into their drinking wells along the coast. And I imagine that people in Connecticut are probably starting to have that, but they probably don't have a program here to measure that. So that's all I have. Anybody else have anything? No.
One
I did-
question. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Ladies.
No, I was just going to say, by virtue of our meeting, are we still on schedule for a January meeting?
Most likely. It depends on whether I can come up with things to talk about and to present.
Well, I mean, conceivably, the selectmen may kick that declaration back to us to look at their changes is one thought. I would think we would want a meeting. I wasn't arguing against it. I was just confirming that was in everybody else's mind.
That would be our next scheduled meeting, yes.
Okay.
I just had a comment for your information thing. I don't know whether everybody's aware of it, but the town is changing a flapper valve down in the it's the fourth
District voting hall.
Fourth district voting hall. and they're including in a rain garden as part of the design. And that was one of the recommendations that had been done by the folks from, up north. Is that, which group had that recommendation, or was that a recommendation in both the plans?
The Conway School,
Conway
that was
School.
part of one of their demonstration areas that they had.
So that's in plan and possibly going out to bid over the next few months.
I'm very excited
I-
about that one.
I believe also that the Long Island Sound Futures Fund Grant Awards will be announced next week, I think. And the town did apply for something. I'm not really positive what they applied for. We gave them a couple ideas, but.
Yes, the award ceremony is on Monday and it is virtual and it's a press release. It's a press event. And then on Tuesday, people can openly announce their grant awards.
All right. So, Sarah, Helen, do you have anything you want to talk about?
I'd just like to thank all of you so much for all the work you've put into this. Like, we really appreciate it, and it means a lot to see the document go this far. So thank you so much for all you've done with it.
All right. Jason, anything else?
I would just echo, this was something that really concerned Sarah and Helen and myself, and, just many thanks. You're all so very thorough, and I love how you hold your discussions. Everybody's so nice and pleasant. It's really, it's a nice thing to see. You don't see that in all committees, but there's a really nice vibe here, and and thanks for being so open and welcoming. We really appreciate all your hard work. Thank you.
All right. If nobody else has any comments, motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Happy holidays, people. Stay healthy.
Happy holidays all.
Stay safe,
Happy
everyone.
holidays. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.